My name is Mike Matthews. I am the host of the longest-running self-produced daily podcast by a guy somewhere in podCastro Valley in the land of Meritopia, the last place on earth at Café Anyway. It is Mike's Daily Podcast, episode 3093-3093. One thing that I have discovered as I am in my 50s is that, well, once you get out of your 20s, your teens, really, once you get out of your teens, it's all down here. All downhill from there. It's all down here for whole. If you were also going to say it like that, like the Swedish Chef. But a lady by the name of Krista Houghton, she wrote, "Age is just a number. 50 is the new 40. You're only as old as you feel. I've heard them all, but let me tell you, Father Time waits for no one." She says she has a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Physiology, worked as an exercise specialist for Chevron, owns a training studio called Krista Fit. She spent over 30 years as a surfer, kiteboarder, mountain biker, and all-around adventure junkie. "And I am an aging athlete," she says, well past the hallmark of 50 with the scars to prove it. "The clock is ticking for all of us. If you want to age with grace and still rip it up, here's some tips to live by as time goes on." And you know, I recently discovered this when I had not been walking a long distance, like uphill, brisk pace. I had of course, the wonderful late great Basil the Boxer for over a decade, and he and I used to walk constantly. Every single day we'd go for a walk. But walking with a dog is different, and they like to stop and they like to sniff. And you casually, you have your brisk walking moments, but for the most part, it has it's broken up into its casual walking parts. But when you're by yourself and you're doing a brisk walk at a brisk pace and you're carrying a bunch of papers in your backpack from work and you're walking uphill in podCastro Valley from the BART station, the Bay Area Rapid Transit System, you may notice that, all of a sudden one day your right foot hurts like heck and you can't figure out why. And, wait a minute, being 56, that might be why. So as Krista says, and that was the name of my mom, so I appreciate anyone named Krista, check your ego and be wise. She says, we all know that one friend who refuses to acknowledge their age and routinely pays for it, either with hangovers, ER visits, or just a bruised ego. Learn to check yourself before you wreck yourself. A classic line from, speaking of hangovers, Hangover 1, Zach Galifianakis says it. Remember that bad bleep who lives inside you, and honor all that you've done, but also remember that even bad bleeps get old. Be grateful for what your body has done for you and treat it kindly, like an old dog that has given you years of loyal service. Your body deserves respect, my buddy.
Hey, man, I'm 91 years old. Got that? I deserve a little respect from you, my buddy.
So modify your intensity, not your commitment. You may not be able to train as hard or as often as before, but consistency matters more than intensity. Listen to your body and adjust your workouts accordingly. Maybe you don't tackle black diamond runs all day. Stick to mostly blues, but throw in a couple of blacks when you're feeling sharp and fresh. I don't know what those runs. I don't run. I haven't run in years. I don't like running. I used to like, well, here we go. This is fascinating because when I was a teenager, I was in cross country and track, and I liked to do the long distance running. It was my Uncle Jupp from Germany who got me into it. You hear Uncle Jupp at the beginning of every podcast. Well, you'll hear him as we go inside Café Anyway. He says a couple things as we walk in the door. And he got me into running and jogging. But as I got older, I'm like, this is dumb. In fact, one time, this is my opinion, I know, but when I lived in beautiful downtown Ventura for over 10 years, I got into jogging, and I would jog up the hill towards where they call the Cross. There's the Cross there. It sits up on a hill overlooking downtown Ventura. It's beautiful, this area. There's a botanical garden and all kinds of stuff along the walk. And then I take the jog down to the beach and then jog by the Ventura Pier and then head back up through downtown to where I lived. And one day somebody says to me, hey, Mike, I saw you walking the other day. And I said, no, I was jogging. Oh, okay. Maybe it wasn't so much as a jog or a walk, but a jock. And yes, I was a disc jockey for over 30 years. So I guess that fits. But yes, I suddenly realized, well, maybe I shouldn't be even just walking briskly is important. I should focus on that and not try to do the whole bouncy jogging look, trying to be like Rocky going up the stairs there in Philadelphia. So I said right there, all right, I'm going to start walking. Yeah, I know you're not supposed to listen to what other people say when they tear you down like that. He didn't mean to. What was his name? It was like Bob. It was Bob. Bob is all I remember. I don't remember the last name. I remember he got me into the Los Lobos album called Biko, I think. He said, yeah, you got to listen to it. It's produced by Mitchell Froom. And I said, Mitchell Froom, he produced Crowded House and Neil Finn and the Finn brothers and Tim Finn and all that stuff. And he said, okay, don't dream it's over. No. All right. So follow that approach. Anyway, moderation and consistency. When you find yourself facing a double overhead wave or 4 feet of fresh powder, you'll be ready, she says. And prioritize recovery. As you get older, your body takes longer to recover. Incorporate rest days, active recovery, do yoga, do walking. Heck, I do walking all the time, thanks. But a brisk walk. Try to do a brisk walk. And quality sleep. Make sure you figure that into your routine. She says, my husband often compliments my ability to prioritize self-care as we age, which I take as a huge compliment. If you feel a twinge, pull, or pop, use the rice method immediately. And this is something that I did when my foot started to hurt like crazy after that long, quick walk that I had not done previously as much. And suddenly my body was revolting. Rice is rest, ice, compression, and elevation. And oh my gosh, it helps so much. Old injuries tend to resurface with age, so active recovery and rest days should be a regular part of your routine. Make sure you have protein. Proper fueling becomes even more crucial for the aging athlete. Remember to hydrate. Prioritize protein for muscle maintenance and energy before and after workout. Don't forget hydration, which supports recovery. Gone are the days when I could drink beers on the trail and hike or bike or ski for hours without water or food. Water is the new adult drink. She says hard-boiled eggs are a lifesaver. Well, gosh, then hopefully this whole egg prices going through the roof didn't affect her too much. Although they've come back down, or have they? And finally, muscle loss is common with age, so resistance training helps maintain strength. Resistance training, overall performance, injury prevention. As you age, it all comes down to not getting hurt because it takes longer to recover. Strength training should become the main course while your sport becomes the dessert. Strength training, fascinating. If I surfed big waves every day, my chance of injury or aggravating old injuries would be much higher than if I strength trained 3 days, then surfed 2 days, and then rested 2 days. So listen to your body. Don't be afraid to age. Slow down and find balance. That's how you'll age with grace. Fascinating. So fascinating. So let's do a brisk walk now into Café Anyway. Let me get the door for you, and we'll sit down and recover together. Café Anyway. Welcome to Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 3093-3093. And Mike Matthews, welcome to the show today. And I am not going to
Mike's Daily Podcast.
do any video, though we live in this TikTok world where everybody's on video and they're like, hey guys, I'm going to talk to the camera. I'm going to walk on it. I'm going to look and I'm going to tell you lies. And I'm going to sing. No, I'm not going to sing. I'm just going to dance. People just dance on TikTok. I don't see them sing. Maybe a little bit by chance. I think the people that are musicians are going to Twitch and doing little live performances.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
From what I've been hearing and discovering. But I'm not on the internet right at this moment. No. I mean,
Mike's
by the time you hear this,
Daily
the internet will have come back.
Podcast.
But gosh, it's taught me.
Yeah.
It's taught me how things used to be when I had no internet. My mom had internet before I did. She calls me up one day. Hey, I got a computer. I'm online. What? Okay. The only way I got online was when I was at work. And we had those remember the big, huge monitors that were heavy as a Mack truck, and they took up all the space on your desk, all of it. So you tried to make it look like it was cool, and you stuck little dolls on it and notes and things, since it was so big. And so there's like a big refrigerator, got refrigerator magnets so you could put your little notes on it. That's what this big old monitor was, this big computer screen. And then Apple at one point tried to make it look really cool so you could see inside of it. They made it translucent, see-through, and very modern and futuristic, as Apple is wont to do. And then eventually we got to the flat screens, the slim screens. And thank you so much, world, the world in which we live. Sorry, I got Rocky on my lap and he's bumping into my microphone. And that's how my first world problems are doing. But you really take internet for granted until you don't have it. Or power as well. You lose electricity. Oh my gosh. Or plumbing.
And here's today's podcast picture.
When your plumbing goes in any particular way, like when you can't flush anymore because everything's clogged up, or you can't get the drain to work, or you can't get water to come out, or anything related to that, electricity, you name it, once you lose it, you're missing it. The podcast picture, actually, I had to dive into my old stash that I just happen to have on my computer here at Café Anyway, and it's a picture from all the way back in 2012, 13 years ago. And I was on Treasure Island. I think we may have been there for the flea market, maybe, that we used to go to. I don't know if we took the late great Basil the Boxer there. But I'm looking back at the San Francisco skyline, and oh my, over a little over a decade, that has so much changed. So much changed, the skyline of San Francisco. See it at mikesdailypodcast.com if you have internet. But if you don't have internet, you're probably not able to listen to this anyway. Café Anyway. So my lovely lady friend, when she goes on a walk and I do my podcast, she goes on her walk, and when she comes back, she bursts through the door here at Café Anyway and says, "I'm back!" as loud as possible, even if I'm doing my podcast. "I'm back!" And then she comes over here and she shows me on her phone how many steps she walked. "Look, I have 9,999 billion steps." And I'm so happy for her. But couples have their little things that they have that they get into arguments. And somebody here named Ronald Ma wrote this. And he is the author on disciplined behavior and psychotherapy.
Is that why you're bald, Mike?
Psychotherapy is maybe bald. Oh, he's a licensed marriage and family therapist. And he offers online psychotherapy, as often the psychotherapists do. And he's co-director of the Master of Psychology program at Western Institute for Social Research in Berkeley. And he's got a website, ronaldmah.com. That's MAH. And he had a couple that had a difficult time handling arguments. The husband said, "I don't like arguing. What was your model?" He asked specifically, "How did your parents fight?" asked Ronald. The husband responded, "I never saw them argue. That's why I was surprised when they divorced when I was 12. Then he asked the wife, "How about you? Your parents' model how to argue?" She says, "Oh, they had nasty, ugly fights, loud, profane, pretty scary." So Ronald asks, "How'd you take that into your marriage?" She responded, "I avoid conflict. I don't want to be like them. I don't want to terrify our kids like they terrified me." Two caring people who just don't. It's a dangerous situation because they don't know how to fight. Who didn't know how to confront a problem, fearing conflict, and when it turns scary and destructive. Provocatively, I tell them the problem is you don't know how to fight. No, not fighting in some nasty, hurtful way, like the parents of the wife, or no avoidance, but to fight constructively, confront about issues without necessarily going into conflict. People often avoid confrontations because they've experienced them leading to conflict, which can cause pain, even the destruction of the relationship. The problem with avoiding confrontation and not risking conflict and the pain is that the couples lose 4 vital consequences. They lose the resolution from working out the issues, especially the feelings and needs that need to be addressed, the security gained by establishing and agreeing on healthy boundaries, and
hey, good looking, we'll be back to pick you up later.
Giving each other compliments, like, hey, good looking, what you got cooking? Thank you, Mr. Microphone. Also, the justice achieved from a sense of fairness and equity, and the result of the first 3 consequences. Greater intimacy, then, is achieved. If they avoid confrontation, they risk developing resentments that harm intimacy. Resentment turns into bitterness that corrodes day-to-day interactions and overall relationship quality. A sense of being stuck and invalidated becomes destructive and pervasive. As we go outside a cafe anyway, and we bring in Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Meritopka where we have no internet. Only confrontation, bringing up issues and feelings and dealing with them healthfully, can achieve those 4 consequences. Sometimes only confrontation and conflict can achieve them. And sometimes only in going through the pain of the interactions can resolution, security, justice, and intimacy be gained. So, anyway, outside a cafe anyway.
Anyway.
Ronald concludes, without practice and modeling, one cannot learn how to fight. That is, engage with others you care about and are invested in. The husband had no model on how to engage. The wife had only a horrible model from her parents that she avoided copying. The therapy process taught them how to fight with care, kindness, and compassion, how to confront more safely, how to have conflict without disrespecting or hurting each other, and to learn how to suffer and survive stress and pain, and the pain of learning how to do so because they couldn't just magically become good at it. Eventually, they were able to risk and learn the entire process and gain resolution, security, justice, and especially they achieved a greater intimacy. It was scary hard work without prior good models or practices, but it was doable and worthwhile. By the way, my lovely lady friend is a marriage therapist, so she's working with people all the time regarding that. And it is a thing, and it is a job, and it is hard work, but it is achievable. And yes, confrontation can be good, but not the violent kind, the hurtful kind. Outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, in the land of Meritopka, look who's here.
Mike is awesome.
Oh, thank you. Look at it right now.
Right?
Hello, this is Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. I'm sorry to hear about your internet, Mike Matthew.
Yes, it's quite unnerving and upsetting. But hey, tell me about your invention.
Mike Matthews, actually, it has to do with having no internet. And what it is you pay me money, and I stop all internet getting to you. Mike Matthews.
Well, people can already do that. They can, for one thing, not pay for internet at their home. And another thing is they can turn their phone off completely from the internet by putting it in airplane mode.
Mike Matthews, or there's my way.
I don't want to know your way.
It has to do with exploding snow globe.
Oh, wow, you still have a lot of those left over. Okay. Great, look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, the internet can be helpful, but it can also be very destructive, as we have seen over the past several decades, Mike Matthews. Yes, especially lately. It just, every year it gets worse. Every day it gets worse. Every hour it gets even more worse. So be careful of the internet. Make sure what you're letting in, it's like you've taken a big hole and put it through your wall and let all the stuff inside, all the bugs, all the elements. It can let the sunshine in, which is nice, but it can also let in rain and wind and cold and heat and bugs. And watch out, it's a trap. It's a trap! That's right. So just be careful with all of that. What do you think about all of that? Here's the number to call.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with all things having to do with Mike's Daily Podcast, we go to the mainframe and hear from A-Frame. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Oh, we wouldn't be here without the internet, so I guess I have to be thankful for that.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye!